Finance Committee committee to order. Please make sure your cell phones are turned off or silence them, please. First item on the agenda is Public Works line painting. Director John Rulo received 2 bids for city line painting. One is from Fine Line Painting in the amount of $15,956.60, and the other is from Lucas Stripping LLC in the amount of $11,421.28. Director Rulo is requesting a recommendation to the full council to accept the low bid from Lucas Stripping. I guess I'm saying
Striping.
stripping. That did sound a little risque. LLC in the amount of $11,421.28.
If you ever met Steve Lucas, you would appreciate striping.
You would. Oh, I'll have to make a point of it then when I see it out.
As you probably know, that striping is a mandated requirement, state mandate, and typically last year we didn't do striping last year in an effort to try to save some money, so we don't have an option. So this covers all of the state roads within the compact, yellow line, white line, plus some additional stuff.
When are they going to start, John?
Probably after I call, when you say yes, I'll call him. I've already let him know that it was a low apparent, and we'd wait till after we finished our paving, which starts on the 11th.
Oh, okay.
Probably the 3rd week of August.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Boy, that's a big difference in price, though, too. I mean,
Yeah.
$2,000 is a lot of.
Yeah, I went to 4, actually. There's not a lot of folks who do the long line. This is a long line painting, of course.
Mhm.
It's not the stuff we do in-house. There's only a few people that do it in the state anyways. One didn't bid. He was from Holton, and one sent me an email that they were just too busy. So I ended up with 2.
Any further discussion or questions? So we'll bring it forward to the, in fact, it's on our agenda, isn't it?
Yep.
So, yeah. Next item, don't go anywhere. Public
We still
Works.
got to recommend it, or
mini
we all set?
Oh,
We going to make a recommendation?
oh, all right,
Okay.
okay.
I make a motion to recommend to the full council to accept the low bid from Lucas Striping LLC in the amount of $11,421.28.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? So move, it goes forward as positive to the council. Next item, Public Works mini excavator. John Rulo received 5 bids for the Bobcat mini excavator. Doors equipment, $75,190. Beauregard equipment, $74,100. Anderson equipment, $69,185. And 4 was Greenway equipment, $64,638. Jordan equipment, $58,134.78. And Director Rulo is requesting a recommendation of the full council to accept a low bid from Jordan equipment in the amount of $58,134.78. Pretty straightforward, too.
This is, we've talked about this piece of equipment, right, a few times?
Yes.
Is this all part of the paving thing?
No, this
Oh, that was a
Yeah.
skid steer.
Skid steer, we've actually got that and I've put it to work already, but I think it's time that we consider a piece of equipment like this. The old backhoe that's, that you find them in the back of construction companies' yards now. There are many reasons that everybody's switching to mini excavators. We don't have a mini excavator, we have a large one.
This is the one you mentioned that you could just put it on a trailer
Right.
and move it around a little
And
faster.
they're much lighter, much lower ground contact, significantly less fuel consumption per hour. This is something that we can use in cemeteries for headstone. It's like the Leatherman of small equipment.
Now, could the
See 'em
water,
everywhere. Of course, Bangor Gas has got them. All the smaller contractors, everybody's got them.
can the water and sewer department use it if they need to?
They could if we weren't.
Yep,
I anticipate probably the most used piece of equipment we have would be this.
really.
So are we going to sell a backhoe to get this?
We don't have one to sell.
We don't, okay.
No, we rent. Currently, if we need something like this, we rent. They're $250 a day, $1,000 a week, $3,000 a month. It doesn't take long. And we figured that this piece of equipment lasts 10 to 15 years in its lifespan. I did give the finance director options, an outright purchase, that's the price right there, They have municipal lease options and financing through Bobcat. I actually got them from all of the various. So if you didn't want to just write a check for the 58, then there's lease options as well.
This is the one that Miles probably wanted to do.
Well, we can look back, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Miles, what do you mean, did, he,
Well, he said he gave it to Miles, right? You gave,
Yeah.
you gave all the information to Miles.
I thought it'd be best that the finance director make a decision on best how to fund.
oh, I
How to
gotcha, all
finance it,
right,
yeah.
So it's better to buy it outright instead of leasing it at this point?
Well, you hear that, I don't know, I'm not an expert in that finance. It seems like a good deal. I know that most equipment dealers offer municipal discount and non-appropriation clauses as well, which if you say next year we don't want to fund it, then they take it back and there's no penalty. So, and there's also low buy. There's all kinds of different shells to move around. Again, that's why I thought it'd be best that the finance director have the opportunity to find out what the best deal is. I mean, typically, I know we have a reserve account. We find equipment, we fund it, we write a check, it's done.
Yeah, Miles is not here today. I know that he's looking at that, but he's definitely leaning towards purchasing that piece of equipment versus leasing it.
Okay.
Oh, purchasing instead of leasing?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to bring it to the full council?
I make a motion to recommend to the full council to accept the low bid from Jordan Equipment in the amount of $58,134.78.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Carol. All those in favor? Opposed?
Motion fails.
Yep. So it won't be brought up, no. Right, taking it off the agenda?
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'd still like to know more about the leasing piece. I really would.
And maybe that's, you'd mentioned that if they lease, sound like you said that if we did it, funded it one year, but then the next year we
Yeah, we
decide
did.
not to, they just take it with no penalty. So maybe Miles can talk about that the next meeting.
Yeah.
I have a question, though, because it just seems like since we passed the budget, now,
No.
is this how it normally happens, is that there's a new piece of equipment coming up every time we have a meeting?
No?
And that's what, I feel like that's what's happening right now.
Well,
And
know
I don't
it's the budget, the new budget is passed. The times in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, but the capital equipment budget has a list of capital equipment, and it had purchase date. It was good for so many years, and when your time came, you're getting a new dump truck, or you get a new police car, or whatever. That's not the way it works anymore. So now it's, I've got a need, and I'm requesting the money to fill a need for a piece of equipment, and that's how it works. This is a piece I believe that we need, so I'm asking to fund it. It's not that we have it on the list that time is up. If we went like that, I'd have a shopping list of equipment that's due date is come and gone. Its date to replace is long behind us.
It's no different than the other department when Dawn comes every year for a couple vehicles, because those vehicles get passed down. This is the process that we use. And we wouldn't have done it out of
timing-wise,
last year's budget. It would be coming out of this year's budget.
I get that, but it's one department. That's why I don't understand.
You'd rather see everybody all at once, just do it for the year?
Well, that's what they did, isn't that what police did? That's what fire did? With their ambulance?
That's coming out of this year's budget.
Yeah, that
And
was-
that
that was-
ambulance is coming out of this year's
Right.
budget. The police cars are coming out of this year's budget.
Right.
And this
We
is
brought all those forward and talked about them earlier this spring, so now we're just,
Yeah, but this one would be coming out of this year's budget
Right,
as well.
right,
Right.
yeah,
Right, you've appropriated the money, he's just justifying what he's spending it on.
right.
Okay.
Which, since we're on the subject, and I spoke to Bill about it before the budget season, I think the proper way to do this would be to list the pieces of equipment that you want to buy as part of the budget, so that we don't get situations like this where I think you need this now if it's, we're gonna buy 2 police cruisers in the budget, and we're gonna buy an excavator, and we're gonna buy a dump truck, and that's there, and we're appropriating this much money to do it, then it's a done deed and it's over with. And they go buy their equipment when the time comes to go buy it.
So as we
we
know,
did
come
do
after,
that this
we know
spring.
come
I mean,
July,
everything we're talking about right here, we talked about
in the
this
spring. Right. We
With
didn't,
his excavator too?
Yeah.
yeah, John brought it up then. We didn't have it on the, I see what you're saying. I mean, if we had a list that said, this is a list going forward, so I understand that. And I don't think that's a
This is how
bad.
we arrived at this budget, line
Right.
budget item.
Yeah, no, I totally understand the list thing. I will say, this was talked about, just like the 2 police cars and everything else that we've talked about. But you're right, I think for next year, if we could have that on a list. But this is no different than the police vehicles that we talked about in the spring. But,
This is a new piece of equipment as compared to the replacement, and we didn't have it it wasn't on a list. We did talk about it.
right,
But even with the lease agreement, like you said, if times get tough, we can just say, you know,
Right.
we can't afford it. This would be, again, you'd go and rent it if you needed it for a day or two, kind of deal. Which still costs, but it's not as expensive as shelling out the whole 58,000.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the opportunities for a piece of equipment like this and the effort hours that you could put on it, buying it outright is a much, much better deal. Because it's not something that it's not a specialty item, it's something that you can use on such a broad range of work scopes. So, you know, my estimate would be anywhere between 9 and 1,100 hours a year on it, at least initially. Because there's a lot of things that you could use it to fix. You know, there's a lot of sidewalks, a lot of cross culverts, a lot of cemetery work. There's a lot of stuff that we need to do, a lot of ditching and so forth with this piece of equipment. And I can rent for $3,000 a month, but it doesn't take long to add up.
No, I agree with that. That'd be 60,000 almost for that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're here at adjournment.
so moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? So moved. 3 minutes to spare.
Feel good doing it.
Knee-jerk reaction.
What'd you do?
Voted on the adjournment.
Hey, there you go.
Is that for the council meeting or for the?
Coming that quick? Outstanding.
I think we got a few minutes before we get started. Microphones are still on, by the way.
I'm not
What did he say?
Big crowd today.
I'll be, I got you. I call the August 4th, 2014 regular council meeting to order. Flag salute. Lori, please. Thank you. Roll call.
Silent roll call has been taken and a quorum is present.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes of July 7th, 2014 regular council meeting?
So moved.
Lori, is there a second?
Second.
John, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? Petitions, communication, citizens' request. At this time, is there anyone from the audience that would like to come up and talk about an item that is not on the agenda? If so, please state your name and address. Okay. We will move along to reports. Council President, I'm going to let Patty just to talk for a few minutes about the whole iPad thing there, where we're at with that.
Well, I just want to show you what's in here.
She's been offered basically that we can try this out for 3 months
The
free.
company has offered that we could have a 3-month trial. If at the end of the 3 months, you're not interested, it goes away. If we are, then I would back pay, the 3 months that we use. I know last month it was a disaster. Unfortunately, Herb had picked the wrong city because they have their records back to the 50s. So the amount of data that it was trying to upload
Oh, okay.
was just taking forever.
Right.
We don't have the 4G and
Right.
all of that. So, and part of this, and keep in mind, we have two separate things. What I want to do is also get the code of ordinances on the system, as well as the agendas and minutes. They're all searchable. They will all tie into together. If you're looking at an ordinance and you want to see what was discussed in minutes on that same ordinance, you can do that search and it will connect together. This is Lisbon's right here. And I'm just using this as an example. This is their agenda for tomorrow. When this is done in a PDF file, there'll be a section, I don't know if you ever noticed when you've opened up PDF files, there's a section on the right-hand side where you can make your notes, and it will have that. Right here, town clerk reading of minute rules, it's like your rules and procedures, automatically comes up in that window. And of course, you can make it bigger, or make it smaller or make it go away. There's an amendment to the GA, which is also a first reading on our ordinance, public hearings tonight. Isn't it coming up? Something's on. It's not coming up. But anyways, so the minutes of their previous meetings. Oh, come on, don't make it.
So basically, you want to try this out with our website, to have the information on our
Yes.
website.
Yes, I will continue to send your packets the way that I'm doing it. But as soon as I get this all updated or loaded onto our website, you'll see an onboard or whatever. You'll click on that and you have everything is right there.
Backup
All the
materials,
attach-
everything.
Yeah, the backup materials, the minutes, the agenda, all of that will be uploaded onto that. I'm not gonna go out and buy iPads or
Right.
notebooks or anything like that right now. I just want you to experience it, see if you like it, compare it to the paper package. I mean, you're all giving me back your stuff and I greatly appreciate it, meeting after meeting. So you're not saving that.
No.
You're giving it back. So, but if there was something that you did wanna look back onto, you could go into there and it would bring it right up.
So this would be 3 months. All of us would have authorization to do this. So
Yes.
just the council.
Including the public.
Oh, the public would
And
have,
the public
okay.
would too,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. It's not costing us anything.
Right. I think we talked last month about you want to do, a search on fireworks. So it had a public hearing, there was, a permit, he's an itinerant vendor. So they don't have a fireworks ordinance.
So I guess the quick question is, you guys okay with her just trying this out for 3 months, where it's not costing us anything to get the information on the website, see if we like it, and then that can help?
Yeah.
The one thing that Patty and I were just talking about, a lot of school districts, in fact, almost every school district now, has their policies online.
Oh.
For that particular reason. It's not done by this organization, it's done by usually the webmaster within the, like
Within the-
RSU 34
yep.
or whatever. And that's what I was telling her, I would like us, if we're gonna do something, is to start with something like our ordinances. Because ordinances are gonna be something that, somebody comes into town.
Right.
And they wanna know what the setback requirement is, or this or that. They can go in and do a search and find out in Old Town, is it the same as Bangor, or what they need to do for that lot or this lot. And that would be, I think, extremely useful for any citizen. I'm not so sure yet about minutes kinds of stuff, but I really believe that if we put that kind of information on, that would be extremely useful for people.
Well, 'cause I'm sure people, when they have those questions, are just being told, you gotta call City Hall, you gotta
Right,
come,
right,
go
and
to a
this way
meeting,
they
so
They can get right on
Yep.
themselves and to be able to find it,
it's a great idea.
so.
So we're
The
good.
other thing that I'm working on that I have through this company right here is it's boards and committees. I'm working on my desktop, I'm working on it, but this is just an example. Oh, it's coming up. Make a liar out of me. Anyways, the one that I have on my desktop, I've got all the boards and committees, most of it is in there, it has addresses, email, contact, telephone numbers of all the boards and committees we've got in the city.
Okay.
And that will also be put on the website, for the public's use or your use.
Well, you got the nods of the head for everybody, from everybody to go ahead and try this for the 3 months. Okay, we'll move along to standing committees. Anybody have a committee meeting? Nope. Okay, city councilors. Linda.
4th of July is long gone. However, I do believe that, I'm not sure if I'm gonna run next time, but I really think we need to, as a city, I think we do need to look at our fireworks ordinance.
I tried.
I know, I really think after.
It would have been worse on July 4th if the weather would have been better.
I know.
think it would have been a lot worse.
Well, also too, where I'm out, because I'm out in the boonies, so it doesn't really matter. The falls, Gilman Falls,
Yeah.
is a great place for people to shoot off fireworks, believe me.
Yeah.
It's been happening quite regularly, which is probably a better place than in town. And that's when I started really thinking that in some of the areas where the houses and everything are so close, I really think we need to take a look at it and come up with, can't say no, obviously, to all places, but in some places, I think we sort of have to.
I said from day one when we started talking about this, I thought Stan had the best option, which was to stop it at, what was it? Was it
Hour after sunset.
Hour after sunset, basically. I thought that was the best option, knowing that on 4th of July, it would go a little later than that, and Riverfest, that type of
Yeah,
thing. But I
right.
thought that was the best, to me, the best option out there, and I didn't make the meeting when we didn't get to push it forward, but I'm behind you 100%. I think we should look at that.
Well, I'm thinking in some places, in the city proper, you can't shoot off fireworks.
Well, there's where I live, how close the houses are, 3 houses down, that's where they're going off.
Yeah,
And
in fact, one of the things that brought it up too, again, on the island, they had their river, their canoe races and stuff they always
Right.
have, community days. And in fact, they went over to Gut Island and set off the fireworks because they had tents and things within that field. And that way, they could have the tents there and they could
Right.
still have their fireworks because of the danger. So And, you know, that gives me all that thinking as far as some of the, I'm thinking of 7th Street and 6th, well, right
Oh,
where
yeah.
you live,
Right.
all of the, I mean, those houses.
Oh,
are-
they're right side by side.
It's
I
the-
think
the-
some
the
common
whole
sense
city
stuff.
proper.
It's
Right.
the city
Right.
proper, I
Right.
agree with you, Mitch.
They still
You know.
do it, and it doesn't.
No.
I think some common sense restrictions around dates and times.
Right.
That could be tightened up a lot instead of, and I don't, tighten that up on when common times are that fireworks are
Yep.
used in our society, and then we can work from there to look at you look at how dense houses are in certain districts in town, and no, it doesn't make sense to let people show fireworks. You're gonna burn something down eventually, so.
Or someone's gonna get hurt.
I was glad it was drizzling that night. That's all I can say, 'cause it wasn't that bad.
Anyway, that.
Maybe we
I-
can bring it back to the committee that we brought it to the first time. Bill, we can bring that back.
It still comes down to the enforcement issue, though, because when they do the fireworks, they are gone before you.
The police get there.
Yeah.
It's very hard
Right.
to enforce.
Yeah.
There's no question, and we had that discussion that it's you're not gonna, they're gone. It's very difficult to enforce, but I've done a lot of thinking about this since we've had those discussions, and I think if we, again, set the guidelines, that here's the city guidelines, here's what we'd like to see, there's gonna be a certain amount of compliance that occurs because of it. There's gonna be certain people who just aren't gonna
Just
comply.
gonna do
what
it
you do.
anyways, right?
And then we're gonna have to enforce that as it goes through our ordinances. And I think leaving it up to the police to enforce and keeping it from being keeping it out of the civil realm and keeping it where it currently is looking at it from a criminal aspect that it can be. I think that's the way to leave that enforcement piece, because that puts a lot more teeth in it than if we made it a civil violation or.
And I don't think people are gonna complain if it's not going till 10 o'clock at night. If it only goes till 9:30, probably not that big of a deal. You know, 9 o'clock or 8:30, I should
And
say
in the-
8:30.
In the wintertime, when people go to bed, I think, a lot earlier.
Right.
I know in the winter.
Right.
5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it gets dark very early.
And that'll naturally shut down a lot of those times. I mean, you look at New Year's, we need to look at New Year's on a different time scale.
Right,
Right.
I
And
agree.
those certain
July
dates.
4th and
July
Riverfest,
4th,
right?
yeah.
Well, let's bring it back to that committee again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
EJ, you were gonna bring up something. I told you last week. It was something about asking the council to help with something. I can't remember what it was for. Was it fall weekend? What was that? You threw out the idea about
Oh, Maine, hello.
Maine Hello.
Yeah, I can send an email out to the council, and Bill can forward along to any city employees. Friday,
It's the last
August-
week. It's the last
last
Friday
Friday in
of the
August.
August.
First-year students move into the University of Maine, and we're always looking for help to assist students. You don't have to lift anything, just help point people in the right direction. So I know Orono does a lot of support to come out and help. So I'll get the email out and how to sign up and register. I think that would be a good gesture to get some Old Town employees and
I'd like to
council
do
to go.
And we're definitely hurting this. I signed up for an 8 o'clock shift. We definitely don't have the people that we've had in the past. So any help would be appreciated.
That would be a good idea.
I think you get a T-shirt, don't you?
Yeah, T-shirt.
You see what I'm saying?
Free lunch.
Free lunch? Yeah, yeah. Stands there now. All right, John, any news from your end?
Absolutely. I'm going to be running as a replacement candidate in the fall election for Maine House of Representatives District 122, representing the citizens of Old Town and Indian Island.
Very good.
So looking forward to be able to do that and be able to hopefully support our community a little more down in Augusta.
And we did, as soon as John texted me that, or called me that day, I called Patty, and he can do both, so we're all
Oh,
set
yeah,
with that.
Yeah, I intend on continuing here at the council, so
Busy, back and
busy,
forth.
yeah.
Any other councilors? Okay, city attorney. Good. Special committees, school board liaison, city manager.
A few items tonight. We had a lightning strike several weeks ago now out to the garage. Did some damage out there, and it also kind of burned up the line over to the animal orphanage. And as we got digging in there and looking around, and probably John can give you a lot more technical jargon as to actually what took place, but bottom line is we had a power line that was put in that wasn't put in properly in 1990, and it needs to be put back properly now. So at some point that's going to be coming back. The meter was basically running off the city garage, and there's just a lot of issues there, and it could be in the range of $10,000 to get this taken care of correctly.
So you'll bring it to a committee then?
So I can bring that,
Yeah.
bring that back. But it needs to be done. It's, you know, the line was put in, it wasn't the right size line at the time, and it was put underground and no conduit, and just a whole
Wow.
list of things that took place, so.
Volunteers,
But- Yep,
Wow.
volunteers.
but,
Oof. All right.
so that'll be coming back. There is some interest about private hangars out at the airport. I actually have a person that will probably come back to the council. Airport committee's in favor of this possible sale of the Cherokee hangar to this person versus them actually building a new hangar. They want to buy that hangar and then renovate the whole thing. But that's something we'll put together and bring back to present to you folks.
And the advisory committee was all in favor for it?
Yep.
Good.
Old Town Housing, we got a letter of interest for them on Jefferson Street School. I'm working with Eric on the transfer and David Walker on that property right now. Pine Tree has interest in possibly purchasing the old loader up at the transfer station that we really don't have any use for now, so John's talking to them about that, which would bring back to you. I don't know, Ron, if you had anything to add on the Jefferson Street?
Only that we've engaged the Brownfields team to do an initial evaluation, because in all likelihood, anyone that purchases that property, anyone interested, is going to need to go through that step anyway, and that's fairly time consuming.
Okay.
By having that done, it will expedite the process.
Great.
For reuse of the school.
Good.
We did put out an RFP, hopefully you're all aware of that.
Yep.
After meeting with the council recently, developed an RFP, and we did advertise it, and didn't get a lot of response.
That's till the end of this month, right?
That's today.
So it ended today? Okay. Not a lot of takers.
No, really not any. They're just the letter of interest that came from the housing authority. I did get one other telephone or email from Berman, Texas, but nothing came.
Well, at least we can say we took that step to
Yeah.
do that, so. Yep. Thank you for doing that.
Poplar Street, you'll be noticing tomorrow they're doing the grinding on the bridge approaches. So they're really starting to go to work on that right now. August 11th is when you'll notice a lot of paving going on. You're starting to see big holes here in different streets, but that's when it's really going to start in earnest on all these intersections and roads, so that's going to get going. And at the end of this week, I will be gone for 2 weeks.
I have a question for him.
Oh, yeah.
You probably don't know this, but I'm gonna ask anyway. You might know, though.
I'll
No,
find out if
how
I
would
don't
John
know.
The bridge, Gilman Falls, are they resurfacing that whole thing, or is it something,
Inspecting it.
is that all it is inspecting?
Yeah, they called an emergency dig safe last Thursday, I think it was. That red piece of equipment is a crane that puts the guys underneath. They
Yep.
do inspection on it. I think they're long, if you get on the DOT website, it'll show you all of the plans. That is due for resurfacing, but it's like way out in, 2020.
Yeah.
They're doing engineering, so they do inspection, that
Okay.
goes back to engineers, they come up with a plan, try to find the money.
So when you say though emergency dig safe, did something happen that
Yeah, that's
made them?
No, it's just, I don't, typically, if emergency dig safe happens, it's a week-long process if you call it in. If you need it done right now, you call it an emergency.
Oh,
Like the
okay.
case of the animal orphanage, we needed it done right away.
Okay.
I just think somebody forgot to call it in, quite honestly. And they had a whole bunch of people coming out, so. It is just an inspection.
Okay, because it seems rather, I mean, it closed it right down on one side,
Hmm.
and so.
All set?
That's it for me.
All right. Thank you for sending out the what department heads saying, stuff, reports. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda, new business items number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Counselor Roach.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves suggested motions under new business items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 as presented. 1, City Council will consider accepting an after-deadline redemption on foreclosed property for Michael Fournier, located at 174 Prentice Street, for payment of 2012, 13, and 14 real estate taxes. Number 2, City Council will consider appointments to Board of Assessment Review, DeWitt Fields City Advisory Board, Planning Board, and Pollution Abatement Advisory Board. Number 3, City Council will consider voting for the 2015 Executive Committee slate of officers for the Maine Municipal Association. Number 4, City Council will consider voting a ballot to MMA's Legislative Policy Committee. Number 5, City Council will consider authorizing the city manager to execute a municipal quit claim deed to Glenn and Tamara Philbrook, 69 Dartmouth Street, to clear title of a sewer lien. Number 6, City Council will consider accepting a bid for line painting, bid accepted from Lucas Striping. Number 7, City Council will consider establishing a $5 land use permit fee to cover administrative costs of allowing archery hunters on city property.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Lori, discussion?
I have just a comment. The advisory board is made up of all pilots, and at some point in time, we need to get that restructured so that it's community members and whatnot in that advisory board. 'Cause right now, we're just continuing what we've got.
I actually heard from Bill, was it 2 weeks ago you told me that?
Yep.
That Lance is working on that,
Get it restructured.
correct? I believe someone from Penobscot Nation you're thinking also, and that whole thing,
He's already attended one meeting, our last meeting.
right? So they have started, but that's a good point. And thank you for, I'm assuming Eric and the others, for changing the verbiage on the, calling it a land use permit. That makes more sense than what what was presented last time. Okay, yes,
Lori.
Lori. No other discussion, all those in favor? None opposed? Thank you. We'll move on to public hearings and second reading of ordinances. The City Council conduct a public hearing on a new application for a malt, spirituous, and vinous liquor license and a vitreous license for Sarit Thongoat, DBA Delicious Bangkok, 151 Main Street, Old Town, Maine. I'll open the public hearing. They have, I know it says a different name, but they are changing the name.
Oh, okay, good. I mean, I read one word wrong there. At least it looked like that way.
You didn't make something up.
They came into my
Jeez,
office this morning to inform me.
So, we all set? Well, David's not here, so I'm assuming we're good with this? Okay. No other questions, I will close the public hearing. The City Council will consider approval for a new application for a liquor license and victuals license for Delicious Bangkok. Councilor May.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves the new application for a malt, spirituous, and vinous liquor license and a vitreous license for Sarit Thongoat, doing business as Delicious Bangkok, 151 Main Street, Old Town, Maine.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
John, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? We'll move on to item number 2. City Council will conduct a public hearing on a proposal to amend Chapter 21, Title Welfare, Appendices A of the General Assistance Maximum Amounts for the period July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2015. This amendment is a requirement of the Department of Human Services for fiscal year 2014 through 2015 housing assistance limits in compliance with Title 22 MRSA, subsection 4305, paragraph 4. I'll open the public hearing. And we have to keep doing this, right? I thought,
I was promised that last year they
Yeah.
weren't gonna do it
That's
in
what I
July
thought.
again, but here we are, and they'll turn around and change it for October 1st.
Again, yeah.
so you mean we will have to do it one more time? Or we
Yeah,
won't have
and we
to?
never get it, it's always a month after it's supposed to go into effect when we actually get the paperwork, so that's why it's gonna be retroactive. This is strictly on housing and assistance limits.
So they're never gonna change it, so we don't have to keep doing it.
No, I've talked to several attorneys at MMA and
Huh.
can't,
Okay.
they don't recommend us taking it out of the amounts out of the ordinance.
Is everybody else doing the same thing?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay. All right, then. Hearing nothing else, I will close the public hearing. City Council will consider scheduling a second reading for final approval on a proposal to amend Chapter 21 Title Welfare, Appendices A, of the General Assistance Maximum Amounts. Councilor Nuttall.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves scheduling a second reading on September 2nd, 2014, for final approval on a proposal to amend Chapter 21 titled Welfare, Appendices A of the General Assistance Maximum Amounts for the period July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2015. This amendment is a requirement of the Department of Human Services for fiscal year 2013 to 2014 housing assisting limits in compliance with Title 22 MRSA subsection 4305, paragraph 4.
Is there a second?
Second.
Carol, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? We have an item under old business. The city council will consider removing the item regarding accepting a bid for a pickup truck for the airport from the table. This item was tabled at the July 7, 2014 regular council meeting with direction to come back with bids for a new pickup instead of a used one. Councilor Peterson.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby removes the item regarding accepting the bid for a pickup truck for the airport from the table.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
EJ. Discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? City Council consider accepting a bid for a pickup truck for use at the airport. Councilor McLeod.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby accepts the bid from Darlings Ford in the amount of $28,573 for a F-250 pickup truck with plow. Funds will come from account number 700414, Heavy Equipment Reserve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. So what'd you get for, I see this bid, but did you check on a half ton also?
We did. Bid came in, it was actually a pricier truck than the F-250 was. It requires a heavier package to be on the half-ton trucks.
Okay. That's what was on site or whatever? Yeah. So, and Bill said you did talk to the gentleman and they did recommend if you're gonna be plowing to use the 3/4 ton.
3/4 ton truck, yes.
I think Linda and I had asked about leasing. Did you get a chance to ask about that at all?
We asked about the lease, and it didn't seem like the best option for us. It was a pricier lease, and at the end, we had the option of buying the pickup truck for $1, so you can figure out the math from there that
Oh.
they were gonna make it up on the first few years. So,
I didn't even know if they'd even let you do it where it's commercial, if they'd even let you lease. So I'm,
they'll set the vehicle up for you with every option you could possibly want.
I'm sure. Stan?
Yeah, I have a question. It's coming out of the heavy equipment reserve. We sold equipment to make up $17,000 of that. Did that go in the heavy
That's where it
equipment
went in,
reserve?
yep.
Okay, good.
So I asked Miles where he put it, and that's where he put it.
Okay.
11,000, yeah, that's good.
So okay, that's good. For basically $10,000 more, it's a brand new one.
Yeah.
It's gonna last a lot longer.
Yep.
Does it have air condition?
Warranty. It's a
Taken care of.
basic fleet truck.
What does that
Probably
mean?
it probably has AC, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think that's what.
AM,
that's
FM.
the-
Radio, that's all they need.
Oh.
Crank windows.
I didn't even know if we got a radio.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't know if I wanted to take a ride in. No, see how comfortable it's gonna be.
Move it first.
Uh-huh.
Bang, 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 bang.
It's got a plow on it, it's even
even
worse.
worse.
Believe me, I know even worse.
Okay, so no other discussion. All those in favor? None opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing the research. Okay, so moving on to new business. I believe we have a few more items on here. Don't we? Think we'll start with item number 8. City Council consider authorizing the city manager to take all necessary steps to dispose of tax-acquired property formerly owned by estate of Norman S. Netto, located at 185 Lincoln Street and on Assessors Tax Map 021, Lot 049, in accordance with the policy for disposition of tax-acquired property. Councilor Peterson.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby authorizes the city manager to take all the necessary steps to dispose of the tax-acquired property formerly owned by Norman S. Netto, located at 185 Lincoln Street on the Assessors Tax Map 021, Lot 049, in accordance with the Chapter 6 policy for disposal of tax-acquired property.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Linda, discussion, Travis, there you are. How you doing?
Good yourself.
Good. So what do we got here?
This is one of the ones that's been on our list that we've been working on, and we've sent it to Eric's office for review, and he's cleared this to sell. We have several others that are getting, two at least, that'll be coming to you soon, but this one is ready to go now. We can, with your authorization, we can start the bid process and get this put out.
Great.
This is one that's been, we've been asked questions many times in the last few months by neighbors. too.
Like when
So
it's gonna happen,
this is a good one.
basically.
It's a good one to move.
Whereabouts on Lincoln Street is it?
We're on the corner of Lincoln and Abbott. It's actually a pretty large-looking lot.
Oh, I know what it is,
yeah,
the Netto
yeah.
House. Now I know.
Behind it and
Yes.
up around it.
Yeah, I know
Okay.
exactly where that is,
Yeah,
yeah.
It's been abandoned for a while.
For quite a while, hasn't it?
So it doesn't sound like it's gonna take too long then to,
Now, we've got people in the neighborhood wanting to see it go. We've got other people interested in bidding, so it sounds like it might be something that'll move pretty quickly.
good, nice work. Any other questions? All those in favor? None opposed? Okay. Thank you, Travis. The city council will consider authorizing the economic development director to send out downtown planning requests for proposals, RFPs, for a consultant firm to provide professional planning recommendations and public meeting facilitation services in preparation of a downtown master plan. Councilor Roach.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby authorizes the Economic Development Director to send out downtown planning requests for proposals, RFPs, for a consultant firm to provide professional planning, recommendations, and public meeting facilitation services in preparation of a downtown master plan.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Lori, discussion. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Well, since I've been here, I guess the one kind of resounding theme I keep hearing is concern about the decline downtown and what can we do to revitalize Old Town's downtown. So we discussed this with the LLC, and it was felt that a good first step would be to try to get everybody on the same page, assemble all of the concerns, ideas, issues, and try to establish goals, then get the city council to adopt those goals and then start doing some good things. And so I wrote an RFP, and I identified 14 items that we'd like to have our consultant, which I would see as the most likely consultant would be an engineering landscape design type firm. They do a lot of this type of thing. And it would involve a series of public meetings so that we can get input from businesses and from residents, so that everybody, in the end, they feel like they've been a part of it. And maybe everybody won't agree with every part of it or every priority, but you know, at least we listen to everybody. And you know, I think that's a very important part of the planning process.
So when would we hold these? When are you thinking of doing this, in August or September, or?
Well, I think to do this and do it right, we're probably looking at a 6-month process.
Okay.
It'll take us a month to get the right firm on board, and we do have a committee of 5 people that would guide this effort, along with myself. We've got Councilor Roach, Cindy Jennings, Steve Balagion, Linda Gallant, and Tim Folster that have all
Good.
stepped up to the plate and said they would be happy to do that.
Great.
But I do think it would be probably a process that would take about that long, and there would be, I would think, with other plans that I've been involved with, is usually at least 3 public meetings, and just to you know, get people in small groups and strategize and come up with good ideas.
So this isn't just for the Old Town Canoe site, this is for everything.
This is for everything.
Yep.
And we haven't really defined what the area would be, but in my mind, I see it as maybe Chester Street and coming down Water, down Maine, up to Brunswick, all the way down Brunswick to Center, something like that. So we've got the core of the downtown. But, I mean, that's just my idea, and
Yeah. I think the sooner we get started, the better off we'll be. I think we just seem to talk a lot and not do a lot, so I would be happy to not talk and do. About how much do you think something like that is going to cost, though, the RFP?
And we talked about this with the LLC, and I'm just basing it on my experience over the years doing similar projects. I think it'll be in the $20,000 range.
The LLC will
And
fund
yeah,
that.
the LLC is
Yep.
funding that? Okay, that's.
They're
what I
all
was-
right with all that?
Yeah.
So were you gonna have any initial talks just about this site? I mean, I know you're talking about doing this whole thing, but were there gonna be some discussions maybe in August, September to talk about this site, or are you just gonna just incorporate it all into one?
I think we're gonna use this as an opportunity to incorporate
Everything?
everything.
That's definitely a big focus.
Right.
I mean, if ever there was an opportunity for the city of Old Town to kind of reinvent themselves or whatever it is we want to do, I mean, now is the hour.
Yeah. Okay.
So we are asking them to do an awful lot of things, but if any member of the council sees something that looks like it's missing, certainly let us know and we'll work it in there.
We'll keep checking with you
we
monthly.
cover it.
Do we have that, though?
It's in your
Is it?
Yeah,
It
we
wasn't
got it.
in,
backup material.
Yeah,
I didn't find it.
it was the second,
The City of Old Town downtown planning request. for
Okay,
proposal.
all right, I looked, and when I looked, I didn't find it.
I don't see it in here.
It is,
See this?
yeah, it is, but it was at the end
Oh,
of the
there it is,
TIF,
okay.
yeah. When are
Good.
you putting this out?
Well, just as soon as you say okay.
Okay.
I thought that we'd probably advertise it in the Penobscot Times and the Bangor Daily.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure that all the firms that are on my list are aware of it.
They're aware of it.
does it go into that magazine that we get to every month, the Maine,
Oh, the main townsman,
yeah.
town something?
to be in, would
I'll-
it be worth putting that?
There are various firms like Dodge Reports that even, cover these types of projects.
And
so-
that these companies know to go look for?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
They go, okay. All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? Stay right there, Ron. City Council consider amending the city's current tax increment financing, TIF, policy as presented in attachment number 1. Councilor Peterson.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves the proposed amendments to the Old Town Tax Increment Financing TIF policy as presented in attachment 1.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
EJ, discussion? Ron, when I was looking at it, looked like there was a lot of, some Xing out and some, the only part I wasn't sure, like at the beginning with that whole thing that's highlighted, tax increment finance and the credit enhancement agreement, was that, did you put that in or is that coming out?
Well, I think the version you have is, we had several working copies with the LLC.
Okay.
We took this back a couple of times. And what you have is, it's basically a rewrite of the ordinance. There are some elements of your previous or current ordinance
Okay.
that are in there and that we thought were fine. But we tried to really go over it step by step and add a lot of things that seem to be lacking and
Yep.
to clarify it. And I'll just highlight a few of those things. And the highlighted portions that you referenced is just to clarify what is tax increment financing and what is a credit enhancement agreement, because
Okay.
those are really what the policy is all about.
Okay.
And as I say, we've talked about this a couple of times with the LLC, but if the council ever wants to do a workshop, if anybody wants to get a better handle on tax increment financing, I'd be happy to do that.
But they're all in favor of this, going back and forth?
Yes,
Okay.
they were. So the current policy has some confusing language. It talked about TIF being used for credit enhancement agreements or benefits for businesses only, and it really didn't allow for the community to use it for their own benefit,
Okay.
whether or not there's a credit enhancement agreement. It indicated that it couldn't be used for general obligation bonds, and there may be an instance where the city would like to issue bonds and pay them back with TIF funds. It talked about issuing credit enhancement agreements, and it had the bar or the threshold at 80%, which, I felt and the LLC agreed was maybe too generous. So we backed that off so that the expectation wouldn't exceed 50%.
Okay.
And I can go over the
No, that's
whole
fine.
list.
Eric, did you see all this?
I have looked at it, and I think it's a very good piece of work here to revise policy. The only thing I would comment on is paragraph 11, which talks about assignment of credit enhancement agreements. And I'm not suggesting changing the language, but just be aware that on most projects where there's a credit enhancement agreement, that agreement is typically pledged to the project developer's lender as collateral, partial collateral for the project. And most of the credit enhancement agreements I've been involved in writing allow for that as a matter of course to secure project financing.
Okay.
It's only the subsequent assignments that are typically restricted in most credit enhancement agreements. So you may have some discussion with developers at the time under this provision, just to clarify that they are allowed to assign the credit enhancement agreement for project financing, and that the language of the agreement will reflect that.
Okay, so Ron, you'll just make notes when you talk to people to just make sure they understand that. Yeah.
The only other thing that I'd like to mention is your copy on page 4, under approval criteria.
Okay.
I think it says, after guide the city council in their decision, and then
Yeah.
it goes on to say whether or not the proposal would be placed before the voters for consideration. I think we'd want to strike that.
Yes, the council has approval authority. Town, it would have to go to the voters, but.
Okay.
I had a question about item number 6 on page 2. It seems funny to me, it may be all right, I'm not an English major, but it's the terms of a CEA agreement, aren't you saying a credit enhancement agreement?
Yeah, and I tried to pick up on all those, so yeah. And you are an educator, aren't you?
No,
So
I'm
you-
a dog teacher.
Yeah, but you would pick up on that.
Eric?
If we're doing that in paragraph 8, the word enhance should say enhancement in that last line.
Paragraph 8.
Oh, missed that.
What number is that, Eric?
The very last
Great.
line of paragraph 8 on page 2.
Enhancement.
Where is that?
Oh, credit enhancement.
Enhancement.
Oh, right there.
Enhancement.
Oh, gotcha. I noticed all these things too. I just wasn't gonna bring them up, All right, any other questions? All those in favor? None opposed. Okay, the last item on the agenda, the city council consider going into executive session for the purpose of discussing a compensation study. Councilor Nettle?
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves going into executive session pursuant to Title I MRSA subsection 405, paragraph 6A, for the purpose of discussing the compensation study.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Stan, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? Okay, we'll take a 1-minute break. We'll clear everybody out so we can keep going with this.